What's up, guys? My name is Ace, and today I wanted to talk about the current state of Warzone as well as what I feel is the current trajectory of Warzone. And unfortunately, at least in my eyes, I don't think it's looking very good for Warzone in the future. So this is going to be a highly critical video of Warzone, and I just want you guys to be aware this is coming more from a place of passion. I want to fall in love with Warzone again, but currently, even with this being my job, I'm having quite a hard time pushing myself to play this game. And I'm also not really seeing much hope for it in the future with the trajectory that it's been going in lately. And from what I've been seeing online as well, I'm definitely not alone when it comes to these feelings. There's a lot of other content creators out there that are still covering Warzone, mainly because there's just a lack of something else to play that is at least somewhat related to Warzone. Or at least there's a lack of popular things to play that would actually perform well on Twitch or on YouTube. And at the end of the day, we're running businesses here and we got to put food on the table. So a lot of us kind of feel as if we have to keep covering Warzone, but we can't wait for something else to come out on the market, like Battlefield or Halo, for instance. Just anything else that's going to be solid enough as well as popular enough for us to be passionate about making content on while still being able to put food on the table. So I really don't think this is a good sign for the popularity of Warzone in the future, at least. Of course, it's a free-to-play battle royale game. It's not like I feel this game is going to be completely dead and nobody's going to be playing it within a year. There will still be a player base going forward, but what I'm mainly concerned about is the popularity and the relevancy of Warzone going forward. I really feel like this is on a fairly steep decline at the moment, and if they don't get on top of this and make some big changes, I really feel like that decline is just going to continue, and once new competitors enter the market, it's going to be game over for Warzone when it comes to its relevancy. So, let's talk about what I feel are the primary contributing factors to this feeling. And the first one is incredibly obvious. It's the big elephant in the room. This is the cheating situation in Warzone. This is something that still appears to be completely out of control. And I think the worst part about this is the fact that there's no reassurance that anything is even going to change in the future when it comes to cheating. Sure, every once in a while they tweet that they banned a bunch of accounts, but this is a free-to-play game. It doesn't matter if you ban accounts. They're just going to make new ones, or they're going to continue stealing other people's accounts, which is also a massive issue in Warzone right now. I get tweets or comments on my YouTube channel about this pretty much every single day with people saying that they got an email from Activision that says that their account has now been transferred to a different email, or they see that somebody has changed their Activision ID, which means that somebody has gained access to their account, and they are most likely using that account to cheat with as well, which could easily result in a ban of that account. And therefore, anything that innocent person had bought on their account or anything they'd spent a bunch of time unlocking on that account, it's gone forever. So these are very serious issues, and the only communication we're getting when it comes to this is every once in a while they'll say we've banned X number of accounts, like 50,000 accounts. That's not going to be good enough if they want to maintain the relevancy of this game going forward, especially as new competitors enter the market. So this is something they should be taking extremely seriously at this point. And when it comes to this, I think there are 3 things that they should be doing. First up, obviously, work on a better anti-cheat system, something that will actually catch cheaters in the act and ban them immediately. I realize I'm not a developer, I'm not an engineer, I don't know the details of how this can be done. All I know is Warzone isn't doing good enough in this area, and improvement is needed. We need more than just a ban wave every once in a while and then tweeting that we've done this. We need some hope for the future that things are going to change and this isn't just going to be the norm going forward for Warzone. But finally, the third thing I think they should really be doing here is using their power and their resources to come down very hard on the cheat providers themselves. These cheat providers are making tons and tons of money off of this, and I really think they need to be going after them a lot harder and making examples of some of them. It just blows my mind with the resources and the lawyers that Activision has available, combined with the potential long-term damages that these cheat providers are causing to them. It blows my mind that they haven't absolutely destroyed some of them legally to make an example out of them and make it a scary prospect to be developing cheats for their game. Now again, just like earlier, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know of any obstacles that are preventing them from doing this, but at the end of the day, it's their problem to deal with, and I feel like if they don't deal with this, it's only going to be a downhill trend from here on out in Warzone, and they're going to be losing a ton of money long term. So yeah, that right there is the biggest issue currently plaguing Warzone is cheaters. However, it's not the only issue, and just because it's the worst issue, I don't think it means that we should avoid discussing other issues with the game that are causing people to drop off away from the game and that will be causing people to immediately jump ship the moment a viable competitor comes in the market. And one of the big things that I've noticed with Warzone is we haven't really seen a proper evolution of gameplay over time. And in my opinion, this is something that needs to happen if you want to keep up the relevancy and popularity of a Battle Royale game. The gameplay itself has to evolve. And I'm not talking about just evolving the weapon metas, because that's pretty much the only thing gameplay-wise, at least when you look at it big picture, that's the only thing gameplay-wise that does change with Warzone. When you look at all of the little things that they've added or changed over time, like the satellite crashes, or the red doors, or the addition of a sentry turret, or a motorbike, for all of these things that they add or change, these are more so gimmicks that are maybe somewhat exciting for the first couple times that you run into them, but none of them really change the gameplay as a whole. The gameplay itself hasn't really evolved at all. And while adding little gimmicks here or there can be nice and refreshing from time to time, I do think there needs to be more big picture evolution with gameplay. And I realize it's always a risk if you want to try and evolve the big picture stuff. There's a risk that you change something and it ends up making things worse. I get that, but I still feel it's important to try to evolve the gameplay over time. If you end up changing something that the community absolutely hates, you can always dial that back, and I think that's far better than just letting your game die a slow death because things just get boring and stale. As for the next big issue that I feel Warzone is currently facing, and this is something that always is just going to naturally happen over time with games that are going to be spanning across multiple years, this is the fact that there is now a massive disparity between the top players and everybody else. So I'm talking the players that are playing consistently for several hours every single day. Those people that have been grinding the game hard daily for well over a year now, they're obviously going to be absolutely dominating the more casual players, and therefore that's going to be pushing a huge portion of the casual player base away, and it's really going to prevent newer players from coming in. Now, of course, this is where skill-based matchmaking is meant to come in, and when handled properly, it can actually work quite well for this. Unfortunately, in a Battle Royale environment where you have 150 players in a lobby and you're trying to matchmake within a reasonable amount of time as well, it can't be a perfect system, and in almost every lobby that you get into, regardless of your skill level, there's going to be at least a small handful of absolute monsters in the game that no casual player is going to stand much of a chance against. And then on the other end of that, if you are a skilled player with the skill-based matchmaking system, it will generally try to stack your lobby with higher skilled players, even though it's not going to be all higher skilled players. But there is a very notable difference in the lobby strengths. And playing in those lobbies is ridiculously hard and very competitive, and it doesn't feel like you have anything to show for it as well, because there's no ranking involved, there's no sense of improvement or accomplishment. As you get better, you end up in harder and harder lobbies, with, again, nothing to show for it. Now, if you had something to show for it, that would be great. Then you could actually track that progression and you could have something to aim for. And this is where I feel a ranked mode would absolutely have a place. And I'm a little surprised that they haven't included a ranked mode yet in Warzone. By having a ranked mode, it would allow those highly skilled players something to grind for, something further to do, because many of them, they've sort of mastered the gameplay mechanics, they've mastered everything about it, and they're just kind of running on autopilot now because there's nothing new for them to learn because the gameplay doesn't evolve at all. Having a ranked system would give them something to work toward, something to grind toward, and I feel it would also help get a lot of those players that take things very, very seriously and want to be extremely competitive. It would get a lot of those players out of these standard lobbies and hopefully make for a slightly more casual experience in those lobbies to allow for better growth and more engagement for casual players. Now, the problem with adding a ranked mode is you've got to get your cheating situation under control first, because if you introduce a ranked mode with the cheating in its current state, almost every single ranked lobby is going to have cheaters in it, because then those cheaters have something else to work toward. I don't want to say really work toward or grind toward, because you're not grinding for something if you're just cheating the system. But in either case, that would be a big issue for ranked play in the game's current state. So yeah, I don't think they're in a good state right now when it comes to that skill gap and how to manage that skill gap with high skill players against everybody else. But that's also where evolution of gameplay would really help the situation. If you keep evolving that gameplay over time, you make it so people have to keep relearning mechanics, relearning how to approach situations, relearning how to approach the game in general. And that not only keeps things fresh, but it also prevents those people from completely mastering every single aspect of the game and having that mastered for months on end. Now, outside of these main issues, there's a bunch of other issues that I wanted to touch on here that are much easier to go through. The first one is connection issues, at least for a lot of people. I realize everybody has a different network, everybody lives in a different region, so they have different experiences with this, but tons of people are experiencing constant packet bursts only in Warzone. They don't experience this in any other games, it's just Warzone, and this can make the game very unplayable. Then for someone like me, this is mainly due to the region that I play in, since I see the exact same complaints from people that live near me. This is the fact that I struggle to get a ping less than 90 to 100 milliseconds, whereas in basically any other AAA game on the market, I can pretty comfortably get a ping of like 40 to 60 milliseconds. Why is it that I can't get a better connection in Warzone? It's one of the most popular games on the market right now. Why can't I get a connection experience that I would normally expect to get out of a AAA game? Another thing is the disparity between platforms and the essentially forced crossplay. Now I get it, the performance potential of consoles isn't going to match the performance potential of PC, but I'm not just talking about performance, I'm talking about actual gameplay features like an FOV slider. Consoles should absolutely have access to an FOV slider if they're going to be in the same lobby as PC players, and if it's not possible to give console players an FOV slider, there should at least be the option to have console-only crossplay, so Xbox and PlayStation players playing together without a message that constantly pops up basically trying to force you to enable crossplay. If they would allow people to just set their preference, crossplay enabled or disabled, and stop constantly trying to make them enable it, I think far more people would be enabling crossplay. Also, to my knowledge, Xbox doesn't even have the ability to disable crossplay, which is ridiculous in my mind. And with the current system that they're using, it can be nearly impossible to even find a game with crossplay disabled, even if you wanted to. Just as an example, a couple days ago when I was recording one of those spectating breakdown videos for Warzone, I thought it would be interesting to see what it would be like to look at a crossplay disabled lobby, where I'm just looking at PlayStation players. I want to see if there's much of a difference in how people play and stuff. I searched for a game for over 20 minutes and didn't find a single lobby. So effectively speaking, at least for me, in the region that I'm playing in, at the time of day I was trying to play, it literally wasn't possible to avoid playing against PC players, which is ridiculous when PC players have access to gameplay features that console players don't. Now, I know that I've primarily switched over to PC when it comes to playing Warzone, but I'm trying to speak up for the people that don't have PC and don't have any interest in playing on a PC. They're console players and want to play with other console players that have the same gameplay features that they have. And yeah, with that, I feel like this is a pretty good place to leave this video. I feel like I touched on a lot of the main issues with Warzone and the things that I feel are really going to be contributing to a steep downward trend for the popularity of Warzone. And I really feel like if they don't get on top of several of these issues that I've mentioned, especially the cheating issue, Warzone is in big trouble. And I don't want to see that. Like I said at the beginning, I want to fall in love with Warzone again, but I'm just not seeing much hope for it in the future. Now, of course, all of these things are just my opinion. I'd like to know in the comments section below, what do you think about the current state of Warzone as well as the trajectory of Warzone in the future? Do you think I'm being overly pessimistic? Do you feel like Warzone's going to be just fine? It's going to be super popular even once games like Battlefield 2042 come out, as well as Halo and other titles that are going to be entering the market later this year? And also, what sort of solutions would you like to see? Just let me know those thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.